Oregon Cash Flow Pro offers free money management advice to help you take control of your finances. More wealth, less debt, fast. And now here's your host, personal finance enthusiast and licensed insurance broker, James Barber.
Good evening. Welcome to Oregon Cash Flow Pro. My wife just got back from Hawaii. I got this nifty shirt. So she was on a girls' trip to Hawaii, her words, not mine. And I got to stay here with the kids. And that kind of gets to the purpose of this particular video, which is, should I have life insurance on my kids? There's a lot of different advice out there that you're going to get from people. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those differing views. One that I hear a lot is the default mode. People are used to thinking of life insurance as you're insuring an income. So if you have an income, the typical rule of thumb is you protect your income with life insurance. Your kids don't have income, so they don't need life insurance. That's the extended argument for that. Now, I'm a father of 3, and I guess it's not really until after I had kids that I really thought about this. But in my opinion, you absolutely should have insurance on kids. There's a number of different reasons that you'll hear people justify why they think you should have life insurance or why they have life insurance on their kids. And really, all of those reasons are valid. It really depends on your situation. For me personally, the strongest argument that I have for wanting life insurance on my kids, and I do have life insurance on my kids, but the strongest argument for me is we've got 2 incomes in our family, my wife and my own. And if we were to lose one of our kids, we would both need time to grieve without having to worry about going back to work right away. I know that at least one of our incomes will take a hit for a significant amount of time. And the odds are both of our incomes will take a significant hit for a while. Now, we have other kids, so if one of our kids passes away, if we are both out of work, then we still need to have some financial stability so that we can continue to care for our other kids. And that's really where I find value in life insurance for the kids. If I just have life insurance on myself and one of my kids passes away, that doesn't do any good. I'm going to have to dip into retirement accounts, or I'm going to have to get back to work right away. I'm not going to have time to do whatever it's going to take to get me back in the right mindset to get out and earn and grieve for that loss. So that's my personal reason. Some of the other reasons that I've seen are to guarantee insurability. If you have some type of health problem that is entirely possible that your kids could have in the future, you may want to get life insurance on them when they're younger so that they're guaranteed to have it when they become an adult. There are disqualifying events that can happen in a person's life. And so typically we look at getting life insurance as soon as you possibly can on somebody at some level, just so that they have basic expenses covered, funeral expenses and things like that. Usually good to think about that. But in addition to that, what other possible expenses might that policy need to cover? So in our case, it might have to cover the loss of income for the parents for a little bit of time. Now, it's not the same as losing a parent or losing a household income permanently. Theoretically, it's just going to be for a short period of time to give us time to grieve and be ready to move forward with our lives. So it doesn't have to be a huge policy that you get on your kids. But you do want to make sure that it's enough to cover household expenses and that offset of your income for a certain period of time. Let's talk about the different types of life insurance that you might get for your kids. One of the easiest things is to just have a child rider added into your personal policy. And this could happen through employer-based insurance as well. But you can get it set up to where when you have kids, they're automatically covered. And the cost for that is very minimal. You might cost you a few bucks a month to just add a small child rider on there. Doesn't cover a significant amount. It might just cover funeral expenses. But that's something that you got to look into and decide. You may have the opportunity to bump that up a little higher as well. Another thing you can do is just go with some term insurance to cover them until they get old enough. Term insurance, you can usually pick that up and have it be convertible. So if you need to, or if they need to, convert it into some type of whole life insurance down the road, that's a great thing to do, because if a disqualifying event happens, you can still convert that term insurance without having to worry about the disqualifying event. And those policies are super cheap as well. Really inexpensive. It's definitely worth looking into if you think you have a need for life insurance. Now, you can also get whole life insurance and index universal life and universal life, all of the permanent insurances. You can get those on kids as well. And there's a number of different types of policies to choose from there. The advantage of those policies is that they grow in cash value. So I happen to have cash value policies on my kids, permanent policies. I went with index universal life, which gives me really good opportunity for growth in that policy because the life insurance charges themselves are very minimal. And what I plan to do is pass that on to them at some point, and then they'll have cash value to access. They will have those policies that they can use down the road. And I wouldn't normally recommend those types of policies. It depends on how they're designed, but I'm doing what we call max funding on those policies, so we don't have to worry down the road about the cost of those going up. Usually when it comes to universal life insurance or index universal life insurance, the concern is if you're making a minimal payment on it, the cost of that policy, not until they get a lot older, but the cost of that policy each year tends to creep up little by little. And once they, 65 or 70 or 75, now the cost jumps up considerably each year for the insurance. But the cost is so low at the beginning. If we're max funding it, we're going to end up with a lot of extra cash value in the policy that we're not even going to have to worry about it when it comes to the end of the road there, getting close to the end of their life. So that's specifically how I have my kids' policies designed. But there's also some really good whole life insurance that you could do as well. You can set them up for a 10 pay or a 20 pay, something where you know right out of the gate what the end game is and what type of cash values you're going to be looking at for that policy. And those are excellent ones to hand off to them as well. So really good ideas on cash value life insurance and ways that they can use that in the future. The advantage to that is really that cash value is accessible at any time. You're not locking it up into a 529 account where the funds can only be used on education. It does have the opportunity, just like we've talked about cash value life insurance before, it has the opportunity to grow tax deferred, and you can access it tax free through policy loans at any time. So you're not subject to the normal limitations that you would be on typical tax advantaged government plans. So that's about it for today. I just wanted to get this video to you guys, get you thinking about if you have kids, life insurance for those kids, It's kind of a tough subject. We never want to think about our kids passing away, and this is not meant to create a fear in you, but really you need to have all of this information ahead of time, because I would hate for you to be putting aside as much money as you can into your retirement accounts and then suffer the loss of a child and you're just not prepared for it. And suddenly you have to dip into those retirement accounts, or you find that you can't work. You might lose your job because of the grieving period, whatever the case may be. Now, if you are somebody who, you know yourself, if you think that that's not an issue for you, great, maybe you don't have a need for life insurance. That isn't my situation as a parent, and that's up for you to decide what's going to be right for your situation. So if you need some help with this decision, I'm happy to talk with you about it. You can chat with me in the comments below. You can go to my website, OregonCashflowPro.com, and you can give me a phone call. You can send me a message. Happy to help any way that I can. So thank you for watching. Have a good night.